The NFL is a notoriously cutthroat business. One second you have one of the most desirable jobs in the country, all the fame and fortune is right in front of you. But in the blink of an eye, it can be over, just like that. And it can be for any number of reasons. A couple of poor performances here, a falling out with a powerful executive there, or even some bad luck with injuries. And the next thing you know, it's time for a career change. The point being, there is no shortage of intense, cutthroat characters in the NFL. People with tunnel vision who are only interested in winning football games and pray for anyone or anything that gets in between them and their pursuit of glory. There is, however, one man who in a legion of ruthless decision makers stands out above the rest, Bill Belichick. He has been the fearless leader of the New England Patriots for the past 2 decades, earning 3 AP NFL Coach of the Year honors and an insane 6 Super Bowl championships along the way. The plethora of folklore that has sprouted up around Bill Belichick is really something to behold. He has become something of a mythical figure in NFL lore. No one really knows what goes on behind the proverbial barbed wire fences in Foxborough, but surely Belichick has some kind of secret recipe that has allowed for this unprecedented run of sustained success. Obviously, there have been a few questionable circumstances that have come out during the Belichick regime. Between Spygate and Deflategate and all other sorts of accusations, people love to point to cheating as the reason for Belichick and New England's run of success. But the truth is that regardless of whether or not there is validity to these claims, the reason that they have been so successful is that Bill Belichick is the most ruthless decision maker in the NFL. And by ruling with an iron fist, he's able to make personnel and coaching decisions as objectively as anyone in the NFL ever has. Meaning that while other franchises and coaches will develop attachments to longtime players or to guys who have big moments in the postseason and impulsively give them way too costly of contracts to keep them in town, Belichick has no problem doing whatever it takes to succeed, even if it means sacrificing morale in the short term. The amount of legendary Patriots that have been traded, taken deals elsewhere because Bill Belichick wouldn't pay them, or even been flat out cut is endless. These kinds of stories could literally only happen in New England. Let's take it back to a time when the Patriots had just 1 Super Bowl championship under their belt. The year was 2003. The Pats were coming off of a season in which they had missed the playoffs, finishing with a disappointing 9-7 record. The offense wasn't great, but the team's defense was especially suspect, ranking 17th in the league in points against and 23rd in total yards surrendered. Now keep in mind the Patriots were just 1 year removed from bringing home the franchise's first Super Bowl championship, a championship that their defensive captain Lawyer Milloy was instrumental in. But the NFL is a what have you done for me lately league, and Bill Belichick takes no prisoners. Between the defense struggling and Milloy's dwindling production coupled with his sizable cap hit, he decided he needed to do what no other GM in the league would do. He cut Lawyer Milloy. This is the same guy who had been a 4-time Pro Bowler for the Pats and had played for the franchise since they drafted him ahead of the 1996 season. Making a move like this just days before the start of the season was unheard of. But that's just what Bill Belichick did. On September 2, 2003, the Patriots cut Milloy after he refused to take a pay cut. 1 day later, he was signed by the Buffalo Bills, and just 4 days after that, Milloy took the field with his new team and helped them trounce Belichick's Patriots in a Week 1 matchup 31-0. It is important to mention that although Belichick had obviously won a Super Bowl as head coach, this was before he had earned the reputation for basically being omniscient, and the move left a lot of people scratching their heads. I mean, players actually spoke about it. Has it ever been this quiet in here? I don't think it has. Linebacker Teddy Bruschi, Milloy's rookie roommate in 1996, said, "I think shocked is the word. You just sort of shake your head and ask yourself, why? That is something that would just never happen today." Little did Teddy know, but that 2003 season was instrumental in Belichick's ascent to deity status in the NFL. Following that Week 1 shellacking and Milloy's dismissal, the team rattled off 14 wins in 15 regular season games. This was far from a one-off situation for players in New England. Anyone could get cut or benched at any time. You always had to be on your game. Like when former Patriots running back Jonas Gray burst onto the scene with 201 yards and 4 touchdowns in a Week 2014 Week 7 matchup with the Colts, only to not play a single snap the following week after sleeping through the Friday morning meeting. All when he was cut before the next season. Or when Belichick called tight end Asante Cleveland on Christmas Day to inform him they needed to bring in a cornerback for the upcoming game against the Jets. And as a result, Cleveland was going to be cut. The context truly does not matter to Bill Belichick. One of the craziest examples of this was the time that Tim Tebow called him during his short-lived Patriots tenure to get his thoughts on a recent endorsement deal he had been offered. "I didn't want to be a distraction on the team," Tebow said. "I wanted to be just another guy in the locker room, someone that could work, someone that could be a backup to Tom, and I didn't want to be a distraction having stuff all over the headlines. So that's why I called Coach Belichick to say, hey, what do you think about this?" Belichick told him he appreciated him putting the team first and consulting him, but still he informed the backup quarterback he'd prefer that he passed on the $1 million payday. It could be a distraction, which, given Tebow's competitive spirit, I'm sure he would have been able to swallow had Belichick not cut him just a couple weeks later. Think about that. Only Belichick would have the gall to tell a guy it isn't the Patriot way to accept the $1 million endorsement deal, then cut him shortly after. Absolutely brutal. It isn't just the way that Coach Belichick maneuvers his roster that makes him the most ruthless executive coach, whatever you want to qualify him as in the NFL. If you just need further proof, look at just how he handles his interactions with the media. At least he likes most of his players and has a relationship with them. As far as Belichick is concerned, the media is just an intruder, hell-bent on divulging his state secrets for all to see. Everyone remembers his famous "We're on to Cincinnati" presser when the Patriots were embarrassed by the Chiefs 41-14 and sitting at a paltry 2-2 after 4 games.
You mentioned Tom's age at the draft.
We're on to Cincinnati.
Do you think having a 37-year-old...
We're on to Cincinnati.
But his battles with the press extend way past this one memorable quip, no matter how many times he repeated it. The truth is, he has been brutal on the media time and time again. And while I'm sure sometimes the media members that ruffle his feathers know that it might be coming, it is still pretty shocking how gruff he can be without any remorse. Like when reporters wanted to find out what then backup quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo's medical status was early in the 2016 season. The line of questioning clearly perturbed Coach Belichick, and he responded in an overly sarcastic manner, telling the media,
Medical staff is the medical staff. I coach the team. Medical people handle the injuries. They don't call plays. I don't do surgery. We have a great deal there. Works out good.
He may as well have just told them to kick rocks. Belichick views almost all inquiries into the health of his players as an overt transgression, punishable by either sarcasm or dismissive remark, both of which you can clearly see when a reporter asked him for an update on tight end Rob Gronkowski's knee. Belichick was incredulous that anyone would ask him such a question.
You seriously asking that question?
Despite the fact that Bill seems to loathe talking about himself in particular, so many people around the NFL have their own iterations of a Bill Belichick story. And unsurprisingly, almost all of them boil down to one underlying truth, that he is the single most driven, merciless competitor that the NFL has to offer. Legendary Patriots defensive back Rodney Harrison references film sessions during their 16-0 2007 season to illuminate Belichick's competitive fervor. We would be winning games by 25 points, and in the Monday film sessions, he'd be saying, "Brady, you can't hit a 260-pound tight end on that play. That's terrible. And do you guys on defense think maybe you can stop somebody for once? I mean, he just light us up. We're winning games by 30 and he's just killing us." Then there is future Hall of Fame tight end Tony Gonzalez, who never played for the Patriots, but played under Belichick for one of his 14 Pro Bowl selections. Gonzalez explained that he relished in those Pro Bowl experiences, especially back when the game was in Hawaii. It was a relaxing weekend and it was always fun just to be around the other great players in the league, even if they were somewhat lackadaisical during the limited football hours. Coach Belichick, on the other hand, doesn't have a ton of Pro Bowl experience. 9 Super Bowl appearances will really clog up your schedule at that time of year. But during one of the rare years that Belichick was actually available to coach, he decided to accept the offer and coach the AFC team. Let's just say he wasn't thrilled with the effort level, and he decided to make an example out of Tony Gonzalez. Because there are no real backups on the Pro Bowl rosters like a typical NFL team. Sometimes the stars end up doing some of the more tedious tasks that would usually be doled out to guys at the bottom of the depth chart, like special teams, for example. Gonzalez drew the short straw and ended up on the kickoff coverage team, so he moseyed on down the field on the opening kickoff, kind of just going through the motions, and then he returned to the sideline, not thinking much of it. It was the Pro Bowl after all, right? Coach Belichick disagreed big time. As Gonzalez jogged past him, he snarled at him, "Why don't you effing block somebody, Gonzalez?" staring at him with a glare that Gonzalez describes as, "My guy was a piece of dirt." Gonzalez was floored. He was a generational talent. This was the Pro Bowl. Yet here was Bill Belichick reaming him out like he was fighting to make a roster. And once again, to Belichick's credit, Gonzalez remembers absolutely lighting up a would-be tackler on the next kickoff before proudly trotting back to the sideline, making a point to cross paths with the coach. Bill offered a simple, nice block Gonzalez without a trace of a smile. Belichick doesn't put on an act. He doesn't do it to be a tough guy. He's 100% himself, ruthless and at times brash, yes, but only because he wants to win so badly, and because that is the way he was taught to win. His father, Steve, who Bill describes as way tougher than him, was a football coach at the United States Naval Academy. He learned to break down game films at a young age by watching his father and the Navy staff, and surely the militant way that they commanded the team with rubbed off on him. At the end of the day, the name of the game in the NFL is winning. And as long as Coach Belichick keeps bringing home Lombardi trophies, well, you have to think that the guys that play under him will continue to accept and respond to his extreme methodologies. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time to do that by clicking the subscribe button down below. If you like the video, then like the video. We'd really appreciate it. And last but not least, don't forget to tune into TPS every single day for more cool videos.